So welcome to our Monday Vision Circle for personal, global, future visions, whatever it might come to us. And we're meeting here in the sacred ground of sovereignty, each of us within the sixfold cocoon field of stability, connections, protection, balance, etc. And in our work, we're now working within the field of the sixth world, on that platform of the sixth world. So all of those who are working with us in the unseen have that directive to hold us in that cocooned space on that platform. Now that same intentional space held for our homes, our properties, and all that we love while we're doing this work. We are grateful for Gaia, for the field that has allowed us to play out this mission of reversing domination. And we ask that she and her entire field be held in that same cocoon with the same authority voice coming from Gaia going into the heavens, not just for vision, but also for restoration and protection, moving into a restored field of balance and enriched health. Ask that each of us be shepherded today by those of beings of integrity aligned to our own personal value system, boundaries, that we be connected with, guided in whatever is most important for us to be known and knowing of today. So with it, whatever else you personally want to add to the field, expand the field, just going to give you a couple seconds for that to add. And with that, our circle is set, boundaried, lifted, and open for our time together. And so it is. So as you let your breath begin to bring your focus into your physical body, let yourself sense or feel or imagine that greater circle of which you are a part. What does that sixth world environment feel like or add for you today? And breathe that back to this circle on the planet. With that, when you're ready, can open your eyes, and we're back here together. Just love seeing your faces. And I find how valuable it is from my perspective that when I'm together in a circle of others, that we are present with each other, that we're not double doing. We know how to do that kind, but being present to intentionally look in each other's eyes, listen deeply, not be distracted with other things going on. So it's such a pleasure. And in the past, what we've done, we had begun turning off our cameras when we did a journey. And in the last, say, 3 or 4 circles, we've decided to leave our cameras on, even if when we take the journey, you go off camera to lay down or sit in a chair, leaving the cameras on. We're going to be doing that unless someone has a real reason that they don't want to do that, but it feels that the community is better served when we're present. And that means Cameras on. Okay, and I'm up for other suggestions, but just putting that in. So let's presence ourselves in the circle with ourself, where we are on the planet, anything you want to say about that, who you're bringing into this circle of vision, and especially into that place of divine good for healing of what doesn't seem even possible. Number, name, furry one, other living forms, situations of any kind. So with that in mind, Sharon Raji Maynard here. I'm on Whidbey Island, and the day is a little bit overcast, but warm enough to be so pleasant. Breeze, I love the breeze. When we have the breeze here on the island, that's great too. And I'm bringing 16 individuals into the circle, 3 specific family members for an intense continuation of blessing and healing and release. Multiple world situations sparking that are not acceptable. And I think let's add the quality that we want to add or activate within the circle too. And I'm going to bring the quality of, I'm not sure yet. I'll figure that one out and say it later. Sue.
I'm Sue, and it's nice to be home after 2 weeks away. So I'm bringing 3 people in and 1 cat. 3 specific people. And the quality I'm bringing in is intuition. We need to strengthen our intuition. And I'll call on Arlie.
Thank you, Sue. Hi, I'm Arlie. I'm in Eastbourne, New Zealand, right across the harbor from Wellington. It is a balmy spring day here, which is really bad because it is the heart of winter and we should not be having this weather. I would like to bring 8 people into the circle. Global climate change. And the quality I would like to bring in is focus. Razor focus. And I would like to call on Alexandra.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Thumbs up on that one, Alex. Oh, now you muted yourself.
Okay. I'm Alexandra Lett, and I live in the heart of North Carolina. And the quality I want to bring in today is total transformation. I have lots of people in my life, but I will focus on 9 members of my husband's family, the Yarbers. And all my cats are doing wonderful. So thank you. Okay, Deb Mangus.
Thanks. I'm Deborah in Sanford, North Carolina. It's hot and humid here today. I'd like to bring in 30 people, 6 for extra healing, global climate change. And the word I want to bring in is involvement in terms of like participation, involvement in your world.
Okay, I'm just writing down yours, Deb. I'm going to bring in commitment. So we have intuition, razor focus, total transformation, participation, involvement, and commitment. Place all of those named, unnamed, numbered people, situations into that field of divine good, that field for healing, blessing, release, total transformation, really, of what seems impossible. I like to add that because what seems impossible to us is not impossible in other worlds. Place them in the hands of their teams of healing and PTO type release. And blessed be. Okay, so here we are. And I thought, let's go around the circle. I know I've got a story or two hanging on my head. I'm not sure what it is yet. So what is it that's on your heart or your mind or anything that you might want to share? That's right there. Let's take a moment and let's just do this popcorn style, like who? Well, yeah, there's Sue. She's got her. Go for it, Sue.
It came in again. So this has been coming in for years and I never know what to do with it. So I've done nothing with it. And it came in while you were setting the circle. Everything is energy. And the energy that has taken form can be reduced back to consciousness and reformed. And what I have seen is pollution can be transformed. It's consciousness. It is energy. And garbage, whole garbage landfills can be transformed. And what I went out to the dumpster years ago. And as I was walking up to the dumpster, it came in that all garbage can be transformed. All the space the garbage takes up underground after it's been buried can be reformed from garbage to healthy soil. And it's like, okay, fine. You've shown me this over and over and over again. Do it. Show me how. I've never been told to take it to any tag team or anything like that. I just keep being shown. And again today, all matter can be transformed because it goes from form to consciousness, energy, no form to form. It's just a process. And it looks so simple and it looks so easy. And it makes me want to jump up and down and scream because it's literally impossible for a human to do that. However, we are spiritual beings. So I have a human consciousness that is powerless, except the choices that I make. Everything of spirit is all the magnificent qualities of everything that comes from the heart and soul. And everything that comes from my mind is my human process for thinking and analyzing, justifying, and rationalizing. And, actually, the mind is very analytical and it can put things together. However, when the heart and soul are added in and the mind becomes the vehicle, then nothing is impossible. That's what I'm being shown. Nothing is impossible. So there seems to be a missing link. And right now, today, it's like, just accept it. Just accept it that there is global climate change. Just accept there is probably the worst worldwide separation of people, of pro and con. And somewhere in that acceptance is a surrender. And in that surrender, from that surrender, is the doorway. So we're practicing this in work. We've been working up to this on Thursday. And my vision for this circle is I become the world, I become the change I want to see in the world. And the world becomes the change I am. So it starts on an individual basis. And 3 people can have the exact same idea pretty much at the same time. If not at the same time, one person will put it into form and go to a patent office. Actually, all 3 of them, they put it into form and go to the patent office, and the patent office has a record of everyone who's come in there and applied for it. And people have come in 1, 2, 3, exact same idea. It's all in consciousness, all of it. So maybe if I put it out today, more will be revealed and I'll get the next step, because I've been shown things, but not how to do it, because there isn't anything I can do except be a channel. I can't heal a bone. I cannot transform a landfill into healthy soil, but I am willing to be a channel. So that's where I am right now with what's coming in, and it has been coming in for a few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. It's lovely. I wanted to share in June, my garden club meets from September to June. And in June, we usually have a picnic with the hubbies, but this year we decided just to do lunch with the ladies. And we're at the local, in our community, there's a clubhouse, and, you know, only one of us had to belong to have all of us go. So we're sitting there, and most of the people in my garden club are master gardeners. And they were discussing an issue in our community, and our community it's called Carolina Trace, and there's, I don't know, 12 different homeowners associations, little communities within it. And when you come in, there's this, what they call Traceway, and it's planted with Bradford pears, which are beautiful in the spring with the flowers and beautiful in the fall with their color. But they're now like 30 plus years old, and their lifespan is like 15 to 25 years. So they're dying and need to be replaced. And 2 of the women in the group at lunch were talking about this one guy who's on the overall community homeowners association board or whatever. And he just wanted to take out, I think there's 45 of these trees, all of them at once, because North Carolina, they're an invasive species now here, and North Carolina, along with other states, have called them an invasive, and they're trying to replace them with either native plants or other things that are better. And ours are dying, and they need to be replaced. Well, he was ready. He evidently, this one guy said, well, I'm just going to cut them all down. And she said, you can't do that. We have to. And he said, well, the extension agent will give us 1 plant for every 5 we take out. Well, they give you a gallon plant with a little teeny thing. So these are very mature trees that have a lot of beauty for everyone. And we're like, oh my God, that's not, you can't just take them down. You have to have a plan. What are you going to replace them with? Who's going to water them? to make sure they get established. How are they going to look in the landscape? What are they going to do, et cetera, et cetera. So in walks Kate, who is head of the overall homeowners association, but she also works at the club. And so we talked to her and she's like, oh no, that's not going to happen. You can't just take them all down because everybody would just be up in arms. And it would be ugly for years if he just puts in these little things. And it's such an attraction when people drive in to see this. It's, it's very nice. So we talked about it and she said, okay, I'm going to have, if two of you are willing, I'm going to put you on the committee. So finally, a week or two ago, I heard that was going to happen, and she'd set up for August to be a community meeting, and we told her, you need to have community input, you need to have it vetted, you need to have a full plan in place before you start taking them out. And so she said she was going to have a meeting in August for the community and put us on the committee and all. Well, I drove in Saturday afternoon and saw Bradford Paris being removed Monday, watch out for traffic stuff. And I'm like, what? And so I checked my email, and one of the women from my club emailed me that morning or so that was going to happen. She had just found out. So I'm like, so at the first meeting, we were thinking, and I took it on myself to go get Kate and talk to her because my friends were just ready to go, well, I guess they're just going to cut them down and that's it. I'm like, no, it's not on my watch, not in my world. And so then I'm like, oh my God, they've already planned this, what's going to happen? And so I looked online, and I know a guy who's on the committee, and he sent out a thing and he had posted the notice, but he wasn't in charge. He wasn't on the committee that's taking down the trees. So I called him. So I sent him an email, and we emailed back and forth. And then Sunday I called him. I said, we need to talk instead of just emailing. And he gave me more input that the community that's being most impacted hadn't even been notified that any of this is happening. And it's all due to this one person who was actually taken off the committee because he just said, well, I'm just going to take them all out. And then there's nothing they can do about it. When Peggy was like, you can't do it that way. And he'd been taken off the committee, but the committee chair said, no, I want him there. And we don't report to the executive board. You can't do that. So it's this whole thing. So I'm like, and Kate, who's in charge, was out of town until Monday. So I'm sure that he planned it, that it would do right when she's coming back. So Jeff said, well, why don't you send her an email? And the head of this other community that's being most impacted has sent her one saying, we weren't consulted. We'd like some input. And so I sent her one too. And she said she might appreciate having more ammunition to go to the board with. And I sent back and said, I thought we had discussed, we were having, this group meeting first, we're presenting a proposal, gathering community feedback, and then going forward with a long-term plan priced out. Well, that was yesterday. I got a notice last night. She had an 11th hour late night meeting called with the executive board, sent out a thing saying cease and desist, no trees. And if you do, we're not paying for it, So basically she had said, if this guy does it, he would be sued. And the trees are still there today. So normally I would not have done that. I would have just kind of like, oh, well, whatever, and I'm like, nope, not in my world. So it works. And but it's not just doing it on a tag level. It's changing it in me, in my response to the world. And that's why I brought in participation or involvement. And I understand how powerful the unseen is, but it also means getting to know your neighbors and working at the grassroots level too. So that was my share.
Yeah, it reminds me of a conversation I had with Vera Sen, young woman who writes some great books, very connected with the nonviolent movement. And in her research, it wasn't her research either. She ran upon research that was done on an academic level, and this was probably 8 years ago, to say what has made changes in communities. Armed violence or violent or non-violence movements. And hands down, military action, violent action doesn't make changes. It doesn't make changes. There has not been any change attributed to that kind of activity. But the nonviolent movement is a movement, as Rivera pointed out to me, it requires, like you said, Deborah, it requires, there's like, hundreds of ways to be nonviolent. So whether you're picketing or you're marching or you're doing energy work, it's just like healing the body, that integrated protocol. You need a lot of pieces, and some of the pieces are know your neighbors and get out there and make phone calls and gather them around the trees or whatever you need to do. Very true. Very true.
I jokingly said, should we go chain ourselves to the trees?
We have a tree sitter here in Seattle again. So we are doing that.
And Jeff was like, the guy who said, he says, I'll bring my camera and take pictures.
That's it. That's part of it. Part of it.
Well, good to see everybody. Can you hear me? Huh? You need to tell me if you can hear me. You can. Okay. Okay. This is Alexandra, and I have not been active for a few weeks now. My life's just been very complicated. I had a lot of articles, positive ones that I wanted to write related to Mother's Day, Father's Day, 4th of July. I feel like my mission in life, even when I'm not getting paid, is to just keep putting that positive energy out there and find people, especially the everyday person who is not rich or not famous, and feature them in a way that they get attention for just being who they are. And so that has been a big project. And I told the editor, I said, I've just got to have some time off in July and not write anything. But then, of course, my husband's business was featured on a television station in Raleigh. And all weekend, herds of people came down. So yesterday I said, okay, I'll go get my camera. I'll do videos. I'll do pictures. So sure enough, I'm writing an article today about the best ice cream in North Carolina. So I keep being sucked in. But one of the things that I had an aha moment about came last week because I had lunch with the former Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, who is one of the most genuine, honest, friendly, caring, kind person you can ever imagine. And he had retired, so we had lunch at the ice cream restaurant, and he wouldn't even let me buy lunch, and it was my husband's restaurant, right? That is how he is. But we had an exhilarating exchange for a couple of hours, and I was shocked at how much he knew about me. He had followed everything in my career for the last 40 years. And this made me feel good, because sometimes when I'm writing out there, you're like, who knows who's reading it? Who knows who appreciates it? And ever since that encounter, I have shifted my consciousness, and I've been thinking about things, because I have really had a lot of issues with depression my whole life, partly because of hormonal issues, endometriosis, whatever. And they got a lot better after I quit having my periods, so that the mood swings were not so deep. But anyway, I realized in terms of my career that the depression and defeat that I have felt in recent years really started when a new editor came on board back in 2018. And in all my years of working with editors and producers and writers and publishers, I've never met anybody so cruel, so mean, so abusive. And I was doing some very, very, very in-depth work then, writing, things that you, instead of writing a 5-hour column, it was a 50-hour article. And I got to the point, I just kind of had to, I just had to back off. I could not deal with her abuse anymore. And then, of course, I had a new book come out, and that was during the Trump impeachment, and then COVID hit. And so this is the only book in 7 books I just have not done well with. And it's like, I feel like I'm invisible when I try to go out there and promote it. It's like, who cares? But I've realized that I have withdrawn more and more since COVID. It's kind of like I was already in depression, but it gave me the excuse to just hide from the world. And there's been many weeks I didn't drive at all. I didn't go anywhere. Only put 3,000 miles on my car the year of COVID. And my way of coping with this lack of acceptance, of praise, of appreciation has just said, I can't deal with people anymore. That's just what I had to do. And things happened in the community where I would go places, and it was almost like people went out of their way not to spend any time with me at that event. And of course, my best friends have always said that this town is so jealous of me because I've just accomplished so much more than any of them and stuff. So anyway, I've gone through a lot, and I've been working with a homeopath since she heard me speak at Carolina Trace Country Club in September. And it's just been a lousy experience. I've never spent so much money and gotten so little results in my life. And now she's sick and can't even treat me anymore. So you see, there's been that feeling of just a total lack of support in this community. And so when I had lunch with this guy and saw how he not just honored me and appreciated me, but he celebrated me, even wants to nominate me for the highest award in North Carolina. And so I realized I've just been hanging out with the wrong people. One of my spiritual teachers told me when I was 70, in 1970, when I was too young to understand it, she said, do not cast your pearls among swine. And I'm sorry, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but sometimes you just have to withdraw from these people. And I might add that most of them who have treated me this way are Trump supporters. And I'm sorry, I've seen people in my family who I've always thought were decent human beings, and they become horrible people where I don't even want to go out and supper with them. I don't want to be in the same room with them. And so much of it is totally, they worship Trump and they try to start fights with me about it. And so anyway, I just made up my mind that I'm going to just give up on all these people. It's like they're never going to accept me. They're never going to honor what I have to offer. And so I'm just going to start cultivating relationships with people like this guy. He's nationally known. He's achieved tremendous things because they want to spend time with me. So that's been a biggie for me. And I realized that I have to just face the fact that these people who I have tried so hard to get them to like me have done all kinds of things. Some of them I've written articles on. Some of them I've taken ice cream to, that I just can't put my energy there anymore. And even the homeopath, wait just a minute. My husband's at the door. Excuse me. I'm sorry. He usually comes in one of the other doors, but anyway. So that's just been a big ha-ha for me. And the second part of that is I think that what I'm going to do is I've got 4 or 5 absolutely spectacular people that I want to interview and write articles on between now and Christmas. And then I think after Christmas, I'm just going to just take some time and not write any of this stuff anymore, but focus more on getting into Sharon's teachings and maybe figure out what comes up for me spiritually. Because I still think that despite all I've been through my whole life with health problems, the thing that always saves me is creativity. And so that's kind of where I'm at, finish up this phase of my life and move on. And I don't know, I don't want to jinx this, but this governor's award would be sometime this fall that I would get it. And I can't imagine with the lieutenant governor recommending me that I won't get it, but it just feels good that finally somebody has seen, because it's like a lifetime achievement award, you know. So that's big news for me that somebody loves me. And of course, I've got a wonderful husband. So that was a biggie for me. It's really brought out a lot of brought up a lot of stuff. And so I am complete. Yeah.
That's awesome, Alexandra. That just is awesome. But your point that you're making, you remember back in the 70s, Helter Skelter?
Yeah.
I just feel that's what's happening.
Mhm.
People are deliberately creating chaos. And you know what? I have one family member, I love her dearly, but I'm afraid of her at this point. She won't back down. She's just not going to listen to anything. There is no other side. She is right. And it's the same language that is on Fox News.
Mhm.
And there's no way to deal with it. You just have to back away from it.
Mhm.
And to me, it is creating all kinds of chaos on so many levels, and it's very deliberate.
Yeah, I think it's this causing anger is definitely deliberate. And I also think that it's a lot easier to make people angry and to become addicted to the feelings of being angry. The physical response of cortisol is so strong, and we aren't in our tribes, and we aren't connected to nature anymore, and we don't have these heartfelt connections to Gaia. And so when we feel something strong like anger, them lives, thereafter, whatever, it's like, yes, I'm alive. And when you go to take that away from somebody who's become addicted to it, whose body is now physically dependent on those levels of cortisol, you really have a job cut out for yourself. It's not sustainable, though, in my humble opinion. I don't see this as being sustainable when I look at it, but we are not near the end of when anger is an effective strategy for creating communities that cause the kinds of damage in society that are being caused. Or a hush.
It reminds me how many years ago, I was told to keep speaking what I felt, speak your truth, speak your truth. And those who get angry in reaction to that, those are the ones to move away from. Don't try and convince them. And because you're speaking your truth, you are going to flush out those who would be dangerous to you down the roadaways. We've been fawning and trying to make pretty, and that doesn't keep us safe, and it doesn't do what we're really here to do. So I did a session with a woman a couple of weeks ago, and I said, okay, and then here's your part of it. She was so upset that here was her part of it. She was so upset. I wanted you to do the whole thing, and here's your, what are you talking about? Here's my, I will never recommend you, which is, well, who cares, and I just figure that's part of that. What's non-negotiable in your life? What absolute not acceptable in your life. And you often find that with individuals who are angry at you or at what you are doing. And it's not to convince them. It's not to convince them at all. Just say, oh, okay, non-negotiable list. Not working with this one, and there's safety in it, even though in the moment it feels pretty darn dangerous. So
Yeah, I think sometimes not getting sucked in is the power that we have, not responding.
mhm. Now, I know when I first started working with individuals about it wasn't even pathological, it wasn't abusive or dangerous relationships even, it was just dysfunctional, not productive relationships. And that same thing can happen in a relationship where the adrenaline rush is the explosion. And that now I'm back in good graces, explosion, back in good graces. And it was so much part of just, that's how relationships are, that when they started doing their works, I had several of them, and they kept doing it. They kept doing their work, but they didn't like the fact that instead of being on the high, you settle down here somewhere in a range that's not up and down. It's just like isness. And it's very not cortisone addictive driven. And it was really interesting to hear from them that as they kept being more in charge of themselves, doing their own healing, their own triggers, etc., that what was difficult for them is to get used to not the high, being not only okay, but pretty soon it became more enriching. They had to go through a period of like, this feels so neutral, like there's no feeling there. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to share is, in working, we've been working pretty intensely and continue to do so, and finding ways to, in working with my daughter Jennifer specifically over the weekend very intensely with some things that had come up. And by the end of the weekend, we had decided to create an ongoing program that was kind of everything all together, freeze frame, into the compost that's light, freeze frame, back to originator, back to extinction, just kind of get it so on its own, everybody in place doing their job. So it was like when I went to bed last night, all of that was in place. So there wasn't anything specifically that I was nervous, worried, or attention drawing when I went to bed. I think that's what had me wake up differently. So I woke up this morning, I'm laying in bed, and I have, you can't tell that, but that right behind me, that dark is all stones. It is stones from this land. And my house, many, many walls in my house are stone walls. I think that's why I love it so much. And so I'm upstairs in my bedroom, and off here to the side is a big section of stone wall, that stone wall. And I don't know what it was. And I looked at that stone wall, and it made my heart sing. That stone wall. And I couldn't remember the last time that stone wall made my heart sing. When I first walked into the house, yes. And then I remembered about 3 months ago, I decided I was going, what would it be like if one of my team, kind of stepped into my body enough to look out through my eyes so they could see energy made form. Because our spiritual team in those other worlds, they're in energy. Numbers, colors, rhythms, song, they're in energy. And it's only in this physical body that the energy is then seen as a form of some kind. So I sat in my living room and I went, I'm going to just see what that would be like. A book I read long ago, it happened to somebody then. And so I just sat there. I said, okay, who wants to see through my eyes? And I just took a breath and opened my eyes. And again, the overwhelming gratitude for just the beauty and the color and, and I thought maybe I want to do that more intentionally. That's what it felt like this morning. I don't know that it was even me, Sharon. It was like I was seeing something like for the first time that maybe I would when I was 3 months old or something, and it made me realize there's so much that we have in just our day. Like I could look around here and go like, oh my gosh, I'm going to look at that, So what is it for this time when we're taking our journey? Last week we intentionally brought ourselves into that platform where that fire of our causal team members were here with us, each of us, those beings who helped you plan this life. And what did they say to you? What did you feel from them? And maybe one of them would like to step into your space to let you feel what it feels like with a new view of what you have today. So I just wanted to bring that. I'm gonna make it at least a weekly routine. Our intentions. Okay, anything before we do our 10-minute journey? Okay. So you are going to set the intention, whether you journey to a specific place with your question to ask and hear, whether you journey to a specific place to listen to your team and hear, what that is for you to set. So let's leave our cameras on, even though we're going to have our eyes closed, I think, and just breathe in. Your physical body is holding you safely. The body has nothing to do but just hold you. That soul anchored here in your room on the planet in this circle. From that space of stability and balance, that your consciousness, your awareness move up out of the body, maybe even up out of your room and home. And there is your team. There is your group. They may appear as winged ones. They might be absolutely angels. They might appear as cloud whispers saying, we're here. They're here aligned in total integrity to the qualities, safety, clarity, security. So feel free to travel with them, moving safely, warmly, wherever it is they and you are choosing. Gently to the count of 3, you will be moved. 1, gently and safely. 2, noticing the journey, feeling the feelings. The count of 3. We'll see you back in 10 minutes or when you're complete. We've traveled for about 10 minutes. So at your own pace, when you are ready, you can find your journey back with your team. Take as much time as you want to complete where you're at before you return to the physical circle. Yeah, I think we're back. So space is open for those who want to share. We'll just do popcorn.
Well, I knew I was sleepy when I entered into this, and I fell asleep. But as I was waking up, it's the same message I got earlier this morning: is spend more time in meditation. Go within, spend more time in meditation. And that's it.
Well, at the point where you said, feel your guides around you and go with your guides and basically lift off, my guide said, no, you're staying right here. And so I spent the time doing healing on myself and working with them there. And I'm complete.
I think Sue's share influenced me on my trip today. So you had suggested we invite any of our guides to look through our eyes. So I looked out at the lake and invited whoever wanted to see the trees in the lake. And I had Gaia and the mother of Laniakea. I was like, okay, that one wasn't what I expected, or those two. And then I was asking about, well, how do we heal climate change? And Gaia showed me the aurora borealis. She said it's color, magnetic frequencies, and there's a sound in it, but I don't think they can measure a sound. I'm not sure, but we can, but there is a sound with it in the waves. And she's like, it's energy healing. And you just have to find the right frequencies and the magnetic resonance and envelop it in it. And I said, okay, so how do we do microplastics in the ocean? And I don't see geometric shapes usually, but they showed me this. It's kind of like a star pattern, and then it was multidimensional, layered, and put it in there, and then the frequencies all going through it. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. So, and they were showing me other ones for other things. So go into meditation, so man, but it was sort of like, it's like, how do you take the energies, and they were showing me the magnetic energies and the frequencies and colors and stuff. I mean, like, you think about the aurora borealis, it's all of that. And so I'm like, okay, it's a start. Thanks.
And what I said, ask the question, what can I be given in this short period of time? Because it feels like a short period of time that we do this. We get a lot always, but I just asked the question. And they said, we want you to continue developing a relationship with your grandmother tree grove and your grandfather support tree. Continue working in their space in ways they direct, and then learn to make offerings of gratitude to them to receive their energy blessing. So developing, and I said, what about the wise women mycelium? Is that part of that mycelium? And they said, yes, continue that, safeguarding and energizing the wise woman mycelium. And then I said, what about creating a space that's control central for working and bringing in our family members, even through UFOs? And they said, that's a good idea. So I think I got some assignment, continue doing the garden work, confirmation that the mycelium is important. And yes, I really want to, I think we've talked about this before in several circles, that the intelligence and the creativity, brilliance beyond that's in our star families and what I would call our UFO brothers and sisters. It's time to be the women who they connect with, not elected leaders. But that's what and Alex is going to pass for now. Okay.
Karen, I just had the thought that the rocks in your house, they want to work with you. And there's something about their mineral makeup and the land that you're on that they can help you access
Okay, thank you,
or
hon.
something. So just talk to them.
I will make a note right there. I don't write it down. It's like Thursday morning, it comes and goes. And thank you, Deborah. We do help each other stay supported and guided and enriched, don't we? Okay. Next week, Deborah is going to be the presenter. She wants you to bring paper and some kind of writing material. And I think that'll be sufficient. Invite friends and neighbors who might be interested, and we'll see you then, if not before. Thank you so much for being in this.
Thank you.
We are a tribe, by the way. We are a tribe. Love you.
Love you.
We are a tribe. Love you. Thank you so much as always.
Always. Bye, loves.